everybody, welcome back to our product innovation stage here at FoodPro. Our next session, how ignition SCADA can improve food production processes. So we'll kick it off with acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we are on here today. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that are here with us today. Our innovation stage is proudly sponsored by Wiley & Co, who are around if you guys have any questions. But this session is brought to us by Mr. Glen, the founder and director of iControls. And in this session, we're going to demonstrate the importance of real-time visibility in the food production industry and how ignition SCADA can provide this by monitoring the entire production process. Mr. Glen has over 30 years of experience, and a passion for bringing new technologies and concepts to industrial automation through education and advocacy. Glen has built a reputation as an expert in the field and regularly presents at these type of industry events, sharing his knowledge and a passion to help inform and educate those within the field to revolutionise manufacturing processes and improve efficiencies. Can we all please welcome Mr. Glen to the stage?
Okay, thanks Sinead. I don't know who wrote that intro, it must have been ChatGPT, I think. Welcome everybody. I'd like to thank Wiley for sponsoring the stage today and the opportunity to be here at FoodPro today. So with no further ado, I'm from iControls, a little company that I started in Queensland in 2019, so just over 4 years ago, on the back of being a system integrator in the industrial automation space for a little bit over 30 years. We operate as a sales organisation to support ignition SCADA in Australia. We have a team of certified trainers to fulfil that requirement for education with ignition SCADA, and we also provide technical support. So we're an autonomous group that are very tightly connected with inductive automation from the US. So a little bit about inductive automation, if you don't know about them. Ignition, California-based company that was founded on the principles of removing the technology and the cost barriers from what we know around the traditional SCADA market, getting things connected together. A little bit about iControls. We enable digital transformation, and the way that we do that is by fostering an ecosystem of talent and technologies that fulfill what I would suggest are the covenants of Industry 4 and digital transformation, and those are around efficiency, sustainability and resilience. And a couple of others, and I'll have a little talk about Industry 4 a little bit later, one of my pet subjects. Of course, everything that we do with Ignition is built around open standards. Ignition is built on open standards. Open standards are technologies that I'm quite passionate about because my belief is that they promote interoperability, collaboration, innovation, and they drive costs down to these technologies. It makes it very easy for us to get data from point A to point B in an open and organised standard. And people working together can achieve a lot more than some of these closed systems that we're used to working with. So again, a little about me. 30 years is probably a little bit of an understatement. I've probably been actually in automation and industry for closer to 50 years. Now, some of you out there that might be looking at me going, that's not possible. How young is this cat? He must have started young. Yep. You're dead right. This is me in a sugar mill in North Queensland in 1974. So I was 6 years of age and my father would regularly take me to sugar mills, warships, all sorts of different things we're involved in as a family business. So very connected to the manufacturing industry here in Australia, and it continues to be a passion of mine. So there's a few people here, you're obviously quite interested in Ignition, and thank you for that interest. What is Ignition? Well, here's a snapshot of what some of our customers and our system integrators around the world are saying about Ignition. Essentially, it's a digital platform or a software platform that allows us to connect, collect and harness data from the industrial world, but also in the IT world. So to connect those two worlds together, that historically we've had a few challenges. So we're also able to, on our open standards platform, remove some of the cost barriers. We've got licensing models I'll talk about that democratize or that make it very easy to connect to a lot of different things. And of course, people find it easy and fun to put together a system that can actually make a difference in a manufacturing environment. So before I get too much into the technology stack, what I want to talk about are some of the challenges you as food producers or system integrators serving the food industry are used to hearing right now. These are the kind of things that we can't control. So I don't need to explain to you any of the challenges that we're starting to emerge from now around supply chains, but food security, labour shortages we're still faced with, economic challenges, and of course fickle consumers. There's not much we can do about those things. Cost pressures are driving a lot of innovation, but we are seeing that wages are only going up, energy prices are only going up, materials, compliance costs are all going up as well. But fortunately, we've got some solutions around all of that, which I'd love to have a bit of a chat about. We've also got all of these buzzwords that are coming at us as manufacturers. So some of us we hear about this circular economy business, the fourth industrial revolution, my pet subject, and also this ESG model that is actually been around for quite a while, but is gaining a lot of momentum at the moment. So if you're confused about all of these subjects and where that fits in with these economic pressures that we've got, well, you're in good company. Now, when we talk about all of those things, this is what you want to be doing. You want a nice, clean arrangement between the different levels of your organisation. You want nice, clean relationships with what I call horizontal integration with your suppliers. But the reality is, and I see a lot of these, this is what a manufacturing business in Australia looks like typically. Most of them are like this. You're scrambling to actually get anything together. You're lurching from disaster to disaster. Your energy costs are out of control. You've got disenchanted people, and you've got a paperwork nightmare, and your whole system is hanging together on bits of Excel and bits of broken software that really just shouldn't be in the same room. And this is what we would call a Charlie Foxtrot. Does anybody know what the code for Charlie Foxtrot? Put your hand up if you know what I mean. No? A challenging foundation, I like to think of it as. So, even this guy's giving us a pretty good indication of what manufacturing looks like in Australia right now. There's some of these buzzwords that are coming at us. I think if we start to dig into the messages behind them and what they could present to industry, I think there's some real value there. Now, a lot of it's hocus pocus, but there's some really good messages here. If we go after the goals, the core, the essence of some of these different concepts that are being brought to bear, we find that data is the common denominator. Excuse me a second. So Peter Drucker said, you can measure it, you can manage it. Now, I'd argue that the concept of Industry 4, if you follow that through and make the best out of that, the data that is produced by Industry 4 in your road to finding efficiency, sustainability and resilience in your manufacturing operations produces really valuable data. That data is able to help us fulfill the requirements of a circular economy. It allows us to design better products. A little bit more about that later. But if you get that right, you can also then pretty confidently rely on the fact that you've got a data set that's going to be able to help you validate your ESG claims because you've measured everything that goes into manufacturing your products and you have a solid understanding and it's quantifiable. So where does Ignition fit into that? Well, Ignition, as I said before, is a platform. It's a software platform that enables us to collect data from a multitude of different sources. Now, on the left-hand side of that picture, we've got a lot of what we would call our operational data. The kind of stuff that you see at the bottom there, machines, PLCs, stuff that we're pulling from the factory floor in one way or another. On the right-hand side, you'll see that we're connecting to what would traditionally be QA and business systems information. So we're connecting with ERP systems, manufacturing execution systems, and we're connecting to IoT data and a multitude of other devices there. Ignition has connection tools that allow us to be able to pull data from all of these data sources and aggregate that together and do stuff with it inside Ignition. We can historize that, we can visualize that data, and we can create complex relationships. But even better than that, we've got a rich tool set that now allow us to be able to connect into some of these more modern tools like Amazon Sitewise, Azure Digital Twin, and Snowflake. Now, anybody that's in the business world at the moment, I've learned a little bit about this recently, is probably aware of Snowflake and some of the power of microservices that are built in the Snowflake environment that allow you to bring data from the manufacturing environment and then create context around that data with your business data. It's a very, very powerful tool. You've also heard about the digital twin concept, and that can be a very difficult thing to understand and to get your head around, and it doesn't need to be that complex. We've got very good tools in Ignition that can allow you to create that digital model just once as a template, or UDT, or a user-defined template, we call it in Ignition, and automatically create those digital twins that these advanced tools can work with. So a little bit more about that later. Of course, this promise of interoperability is fulfilled by adopting standards like HTML5 so that you can view your data on any device. Obviously support for standard SQL databases. OPC UA is the foundation of modern communications in the industrial world. But you'll also see that we support concepts like V2MML, which is a standardized language that allows us to connect manufacturing data from the manufacturing execution system layer into our ERP layer. And if all these buzzwords are doing your head in, I'll do a little block diagram shortly that explains how some of these technologies work. Of course, when we talk about connectivity, that's great, but the problem with connectivity becomes one of security. And Ignition is a product that's very, very focused on your security. So you'll see that we support technologies like TLS 1.2, 1.3. These are banking grade technologies. These are the same encryption techniques that you're using to secure data that we're transmitting between your browser and your bank. This is really secure stuff. We support federated identity providers, which means that you can log into your systems just once. So your Windows credentials will allow you access to your SCADA system, and it can only be managed, it only needs to be managed once. These are all robust industrial business grade security systems that are attributable to, that we're attributing to Ignition. Likewise, we've got our software design policies are all built around IEC 62443. So we've got real security is embedded in everything that we do as inductive automation. Of course, I spoke a little about connectivity. Many of you that are used to connecting devices in the industrial world are used to limits around what you can connect. You need to, if you want to connect another part of the plant, you need to pay more money to get access to the data in your plant. Seems kind of crazy. Well, the founder of inductive automation thought that was pretty crazy too. So there are no limits on the number of devices that you can connect to the Ignition system. There's no limit to the number of users you can connect that can actually start to take value from that data. We also work with a perpetual licensing model. So in a world where most of our systems are now going towards a SaaS model, or software as a subscription model, we're fixed on a perpetual model. We just don't see value in having you set up with a system where if you don't pay the subscription for a month, we yank your service. That's not how we are. We're really about making sure that we enable you to go forwards and make the best of the investment that you've made in your product. Ignition, of course, can be run on any platform at all. So we have, you can run it on a Windows operating system, a Linux operating system, but we also support deployment in cloud environments. We support cloud environment. We support delivery via Docker, containerized environments, virtual machines, clusters, scalable clusters. We could operate Ignition in any of these environments. So deployment is really made easy. We've got an architecture drawing that will show that quite simply shortly. From the smallest of architectures for a single site, we're able to provide you with just a very cost-effective solution that allows you to connect to as many PLCs and as many devices in the factory as you want to, and connect some users to that system to do some trending, to historize that data, generate reports, contextualize that data, publish it to a cloud system, all possible with an architecture as simple as that. But as your business scales, which we hope it will, we can set up far more complex architectures. So we've got a rich set of tools and technologies built into the stack that allows us to communicate between an unlimited number of sites, to scale that right across an entire enterprise using a variety of different connections. And you can see some of the features of this here. We've got a number of different sites. We've got some remote sites, might be a pump site, a water site, might be a tank farm. We've got a central ignition site. One of the benefits of this kind of architecture is that if we've got a number of different manufacturing plants, we can bring that data together at that central manufacturing plant, and we can start to then benchmark across our organisation for things like energy consumption, production, OEE, those sorts of things. You'll also notice that over here, and the little lasery thing doesn't work so good on this, but the green box here is our ERP systems and our billing systems and our usually cloud-hosted systems. The idea here is that you can save a lot of money by only having one connection point of your ERP system from your site systems, and we can use that as a portal to be able to connect into your SAP instance with our certified SAP connector. Who's heard about Industry 4 and is completely confused about it? Nobody? There might be some people sitting on hands. Industry 4 is a pet subject of mine. I've been monitoring since its release in 2011, so we're just a little over the 10-year mark for Industry 4 now. Simplifying it to its most basic forms, if Industry 1, if our first industrial revolution was about steam power, water power, really, I'll shortcut this, it was about mechanization. The second was about electrification. We brought electric motors, electric power, and production lines to be able to start to mass produce. Computers, around 1969, 1970, started to introduce automation, the ability to automate some of these processes in the manufacturing environment. Industry 4 is really about integration. It's about bringing together those three previous iterations and combining that then with our business systems, our information technology systems, our operational technology, which is what Industry 4 was designed to do, but factoring people into that as well, so that we're putting people in places where they add value, where they're good at, and letting computers make decisions in the areas that they're not as good at. And of course the objectives of that are to meet these requirements from the very first Industry 4 paper around sustainability and resilience. They were the two big ones that they spoke about. But I'd like to think that the data system, or the data that we generate as part of that, also allows us to meet our compliance requirements. And of course it's nothing without convenience. We're making this stuff to sell to people to make money or to enhance their lives in some way. So it's got to be about convenience. We talked a little bit about that convenience, and I'm talking a lot about that from what I would call a vertical integration perspective. We're talking about the integration through the stack in say a manufacturing plant or a manufacturing enterprise. But of course, Industry 4 and what we're trying to do here as part of this broader manufacturing base, and this is where I'll bring the circular economy and ESG a little later, relies on that horizontal integration. None of these businesses, a manufacturing business, operates in a silo. There might be 3 or 4 manufacturing businesses because you'll have additives, you'll have raw materials, you'll have packaging, all of these different products come together to make the finished good that goes out the door to the consumer. So as much as we are integrating within our own businesses to get our systems inside sorted out, what we really need to be doing also is focused on that horizontal integration piece. Ignition's a tool that allows us, if not directly, to be able to integrate with those, and we can, but it also prepares that information, it prepares the data within the manufacturing set so that we can get that prepared and send it to the platforms that are handling that interaction between those different manufacturing systems. And there are many EDI platforms out there. If you're making food, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Where do you start with this? Well, again, there's an open standard that defines how we go about thinking about connecting our data in a manufacturing environment. ISA 95 is the most common of those. In Europe, it's known as IC 62264. But without getting into the weeds here, which I will in a minute, it's really setting a structure that people can follow in a standardized kind of way that fits in with a lot of the tools that are available to us, Ignition being one of them, to actually help you get structure around your data and structure around your automation in your business. If we dig into that just a little bit, you can see at the bottom layer we've got our machinery connecting to our SCADA. This is where Ignition lives. But Ignition also lives at that MES layer, so we're able to connect into our manufacturing execution system directly in our case, into other people's manufacturing execution systems using our open standards-based approaches. But we can also then connect into ERP systems, product lifecycle management systems, and our business intelligence systems, and increasingly these cloud analytics platforms that I mentioned before, like Snowflake, Microsoft Digital Twin, and some of the other rich tools that we've got access to there. On the right-hand side, you'll also see that there's a focus there on security and open standards, so with token-based authentication and user-based access to these systems. If we dig in a little bit deeper to this, these are the kind of things that we're able to achieve, and there's a lot of power in just this little drawing. If we look at our ERP system on the left-hand side here, you can see that we can take master data and production orders together, feed that into a manufacturing execution system. It prepares that data, sets that up so that we can then be in control of our scheduling. With these systems, and we have customers doing this today, they're automatically configuring the machines. We're taking the art out of setting up your production processes and turning it into a science. We're able to take the data from those manufacturing events, and then we're able to bring that back in real time. So you can see over here, the bottom right-hand corner, we're taking our production counts, our downtime, and our quality information, which, if anybody of you are familiar with OEE, they're the foundations of our OEE calculation, our A, our P, and our Q. We're able to bring that back into the MES system in real time so that we can now start to calculate our OEE automatically. What we're trying to do is pull data from the machine, so we've got stop codes, we're even storing the micro stops so that we know exactly how long your production is stopped, where your inefficiencies are, and you're able to track that data in real time. It gets even better than that, because once you've got that data in your MES system, it really is live. It's a true representation of what you have as work in progress and what you have in finished goods. We're updating our ERP system in real time. The value of your business is contained within your ERP system. And I don't know how many customers we go to see that are updating their ERP systems from clipboards or from Excel spreadsheets or from other bits of disparate information in nowhere near real time. It's inaccurate and it's laggy. And that's not what you want. You're trying to run a business. Not only that, it usually lacks any richness of that data. We don't know what we're talking about in terms of our energy consumption or our green footprint to manufacture those products. So this little ecosystem here, this closed loop manufacturing cycle, is incredibly powerful. Of course, when we talk about horizontal integration, what we're really doing is taking this horizontal concept or this vertical concept and just scaling it out a little bit. My logistics channel and my manufacturers all have their own little vertical stacks. They're slightly different, but they all have their own stacks. They're all operating their own businesses. So it's important to consider them as a series of horizontal or vertical stacks that are all got to work together somehow. Interoperability, open standards, interoperability, tools like Ignition foster exactly that. And this is exactly what we're talking about. This ability to be able to take everything from our design networks, through our suppliers, our product networks, all the way through to our logistics, right to the consumers. With a lot of the connected devices today, we can now bring a lot of that connected, or that data from the devices right back into the design network so that we can actually start to optimize the design of our products, feeding to the circular economy by leveraging the data that's available to us throughout that entire supply chain or value chain. So Industry 4. These, I think, are the pivotal outputs of Industry 4. It produces data. It produces really high quality, clean data. If you've got this Industry 4 thing screwed down pretty well in your manufacturing plant, you're going to have good traceability. You're going to be able to manufacture products that are consistently of a high quality. You're going to be in control of your energy inputs. You're going to be in control of your supply chains. You're going to be able to improve your negotiations with suppliers because you've got really good data. And of course, you're going to be able to meet your compliance requirements because you've got good data that can back that up. The idea here is not to be able to manage a product recall. The idea is not to have a product recall. Talking a little about the circular economy, and I'm going to blast through this a little bit quickly because I'm getting down on time. The data that we generate as a part of that digital transformation and that we generate as part of our communications from our connected world, be it a car, be it a television, your smart TV sending data back to Samsung, I can absolutely guarantee it, whether you think it is or not. So, you know, they'd be optimizing how power supply is put together. A little bit trickier for food, but, you know, I've seen wine bottles with electronic taps, so, you know, anything's possible. The bottom line is that the data enables you to meet your compliance requirements when it comes to, you know, to the circular economy and making products more effectively. What this looks like in the real world, I borrowed this from my friends in the United States. This is a little dashboard that just shows an OEE calculation. I'm sure you've seen it. This is the ignition screen in a brewing company in San Francisco. A typical ignition dashboard. We're just visualizing some raw data here, but the beauty of this system is, if we zoom in on that a little bit, is that you'll see on the right-hand side there that we're not just looking at a little bit of downtime here. We're able to give you the water drawn, energy used, emissions produced, energy data and emissions data. So we're calculating all of that. We're able to calculate with great degree of accuracy, not just a green footprint, but we can actually tell you how much energy went in to produce that kilogram of product, how much water went into that kilogram of product, and where that came from. There are some markets that you just can't sell stuff to unless you can provide that level of detail. And of course, talking about energy here, we can also see that we've got a little bit of information here, that a dashboard. We're seeing some smiles in the field. Maybe some of you have seen some of this stuff before. Again, we've got the ability to monitor our water consumption within a plant. The beauty of these kind of systems is that we don't just see where the total water input, we can actually break it down by area so we know who's consuming the water inside the plant. A little bit on cloud analytics, just real quick. Ignition is used in those architectures that I spoke about before, just to bring data from, you know, the IoT side of the business to the IT side of the business and then aggregate it together across an enterprise. Ignition is also widely used as the SCADA of SCADAs, we like to call it. So if you look down on the operational technology side, we're able to bring data in from a whole bunch of different sources around a factory. It might be a building management system, because even the air conditioning or the HVAC system contributes to your green footprint when you manufacture a product. So it contributes to the cost of your energy inputs, your water inputs. You know, fleet, legacy SCADA systems. If you've already got a SCADA system in your plant, we've got customers that'll buy Ignition to connect to the legacy SCADA system so that they can aggregate this data, because it's unlimited, and then Ignition usually starts to take over. But you can see this path that I'm creating here. We only have to define our digital twins, we call them over here, our UDTs, templates once, and we're able to then publish those directly without any code into these digital twin environments. There's no more work to do. Once we've defined these at the edge, we automatically create the digital twins for you. So this whole mystique about creating a digital twin, we've done away with. Completely blown it away. We've automated all of that. And it gets better than that, because if you make that change at the edge here, well, we automatically propagate those changes right through to the digital twin. That happens in real time. If you change a scale, change a sensor, that all happens in real time. You don't have to manage that. And of course, we're after some predictive results here. So these are some of the sorts of things that these kind of technologies enable. So what I've done my best to do here is to try and tie that all into an ESG message, which is a really powerful message for a lot of manufacturers right now. My argument is that, or my suggestion is that if you've met the obligations of Industry 4 and you've done a pretty good job of getting your data straight, you've actually had a pretty good go at producing a data set that aids to or enhances your ability to meet the requirements of a circular economy. But you've also created a data set that's able to validate your ESG claims, an auditable data set that's able to validate your ESG claims. Without data, you cannot do that. So Ignition, I would suggest, can enable your ESG your ESG claims. That's it from me. I've managed to get that done with 1 minute and a little bit spare. That's a whole lot of information. I believe there's a microphone roaming.
There is.
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'm very, very happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Glen. And we do have a little bit of time for questions. If you have a question handy here, I can pop over to you with a microphone. I believe you also hanging around. And do you have exhibition rights here, Glen?
Yes, we're at Y14, I think, Phil. Yeah, we're at Y14 down in the back corner. Please come and see us. I'll be there for a couple of hours this afternoon.
Perfect. So we've no questions. I'm sure we'll be able to pop the exhibition with our grab Glen as it comes off the stage. But thank you very much. That was a lot, but very, very interesting.
That was a lot.
Thanks, Glen. Thanks, guys. We're back here again in half an hour with our next topic. Thank you.